Good evening, I'm Maciej, Mikos, and you're watching World Talks. European leaders gathered in Kyiv on the fourth anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion to show their unwavering support for the war-torn country. And to talk about the latest from Ukraine, we're joined by DeBatto, political analyst and retired US Army counterintelligence officer. Hello.
Hello.
So, head of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, stated today that Ukraine will get a 90 billion euro aid package one way or another, and declared that Ukraine is on a good way to joining the EU. Now, I remember the days when the US too was very much interested in helping Ukraine. What is the situation like today?
Well, as you well know, and I'm sure most of your viewers know, the situation as far as American support for Ukraine is vastly different than it was even a little over a year ago. The truth of the matter is that the current administration under President Trump is more aligned with the Kremlin than it is with Kyiv. And that's a tragedy. It makes folks like me very, very unhappy and depressed. It's a reality, though. Right now, the current American administration is absolutely not supporting Ukraine. They're doing almost everything they can to thwart a Ukrainian victory over Russia. And let me just say that right now, on the fourth anniversary of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the world should just sit back and be astonished at what Ukraine has done. The fact that they still survive at all, but in fact have fought Russia to a standstill after 4 years of bloody war, when Russia itself and the West thought they wouldn't survive for 3 days, is just astonishing. And I think we need to take our hats off to the Ukrainian people, not just the military and the government, but the Ukrainian people for their courage and tenacity to fight, not for their existence, but for Western democracy.
Well, Ukraine is still very much alive and kicking, if I might say so. Now, European leaders who take part in the Coalition of the Willing initiative were underlining today the importance of battling Kremlin's narrative of Russia winning the war, right? So that's just what you said. Now, but I'm wondering what kind of narrative in this regard is dominating in the American media.
Fortunately, in the American media, much of the outlets, the media platforms, have been either outright bought, literally purchased by the government, or has been intimidated by the government, and that's no secret. If you criticize the Trump administration and you're a major media platform such as a CBS and ABC or other similar corporations, you come under a lot of fire by this current administration. So to answer your question, the American media hasn't really gone to bat for Ukraine as much as they did prior to the Trump administration. They're trying to walk a tightrope against receiving the wrath of the Trump Ukraine and trying to, in some cases, support Ukraine and support the European initiative for Ukraine. And you do see some outlets, such as the New York Times, the Atlantic magazine, and some others, absolutely supporting Ukraine, criticizing the lack of support of America for Ukraine right now, and talking about the initiatives being proposed and in some cases passed by Europe right now.
I have a quote from one David DeBatto from last December. Let me quote you. "The long game that Donald Trump and the Republicans, MAGA, are playing are re-establishing financial business ties with Russia. That's where they see the gold at the end of the rainbow. The main goal here is to separate Europe from America, so Russia becomes our main trading partner and very possibly our military partner." So has your perspective changed over the past months or not?
If anything, it's been strengthened. Look at the envoys, the negotiating envoys that President Trump has been sending to the Kremlin. Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner These are not diplomats. These are businessmen, specifically real estate businessmen who have absolutely no idea about the history of Ukraine, the history of Russia, the history of Europe, or really anything else except for buying and selling real estate. They have been actively working behind the scenes, and not too secretly, to be honest, about opening up new business relationships between America, specifically the Trump administration, and Russia. That's something that Donald Trump has wanted since at least the 80s. And now that he's in a position to try to push that through, that's pretty much his main goal, to the detriment of Ukraine. I'll just say this to try to answer your question. President Trump is perfectly willing to sacrifice Ukraine if it means opening up vast businesses, vast business deals, to use his word, within Russia. And that's pretty much what we're seeing right now in these so-called peace negotiations.
Now I have a little riddle, a puzzle for you, if you will. Who said these words? The enemy was unable to inflict a strategic defeat on our country on the battlefield. This is why it relies on individual and mass terror. They don't know what to destroy. They don't know what to do to destroy the peace process, to stop trying to resolve it through diplomatic means. Everything is being done to commit some kind of provocation and undermine everything that has been achieved on this negotiating track so carefully. Who said these words?
Well, I wish I had said that. Perhaps I did, but to be honest with you, I'm not sure. But as far as the negotiations are going, so-called negotiations, I can't call them negotiations. In terms of the diversions that are taking place between the Americans and the Russians, it is literally to allow Russia to either save face or actually to regroup, rearm, and take the time that it needs to advance its
Spoken like a true counterintelligence officer, it was Vladimir Putin who said these words. And Vladimir Putin is talking here about things that have already been achieved on the negotiating track so carefully. So do you think there's something that has already been negotiated with the US, I mean business-wise, as you've mentioned before, that we don't know about?
Oh, undoubtedly. I mean, we're not being told most of what's going on behind the scenes. And again, I think it's really key for people to understand that the two main so-called negotiators for the United States in the Kremlin, in this war with Russia, are real estate oligarchs, if you will. They have absolutely no experience in negotiations with foreign countries in terms of diplomacy, certainly not in war. They have no background in intelligence of any kind. So, yeah, I think that should tell people a lot. I think, yes, the answer is that there are probably deals that have already been made with Russia and the Trump administration. And that word is key. Deal. Trump only wants a deal. And in his mind, deal means business. It doesn't mean ending a war. It certainly doesn't mean saving lives. It means a business deal where he specifically is going to pocket to make money out of the situation. And yes, that's what's going on behind the scenes right now. Whether or not there is actually a peace deal that takes place between Russia and Ukraine is really besides the point. And if it happens, it wouldn't be the main point of the talks.
Oh, I see. Now, talking about the talks, what do you expect from this next round of peace negotiations this Thursday?
Do I expect peace? No, I expect that this war, unfortunately, tragically, is going to go on for a very long time. Whether that's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, no one can say. But the next round of negotiations, and there will be next round and next rounds, will not amount to anything. In fact, I think the last time I was on this program, I said that the negotiations that were taking place in Geneva, in Switzerland, and then before that in Budapest would amount to absolutely nothing. And they did. The only thing that happened, and it's positive, was an exchange of prisoners. And that's great. But in terms of ending the war, absolutely nothing has happened. And I can only predict a much longer war before there's any indication of peace or a negotiated settlement or end.
You said that Donald Trump is looking for business opportunities. Now, in this regard, what is the current status of the rare earth minerals deal between Ukraine and the US, which was supposed to serve as one of the security guarantees for Kyiv?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure because, as you may know, that has been pretty much, and I hate to use the pun, buried, and not in the earth, but in terms of the news. I really haven't seen or heard anything about that in the last several weeks or months, actually. So I'm not sure exactly. I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure what happened there. As you probably know, Donald Trump and the Americans have been trying to do the same thing in Greenland. One of the reasons that have been put forth for Donald Trump wanting to buy or take over Greenland was for their rare earth minerals. Nothing's come of that either. So I'm not sure where the rare earth situation is between the United States and either Ukraine or Greenland at this point.
Right, now, let's take a look at the broader picture. Now, the US is amassing forces in the Middle East. Now, do you think it will come to an armed conflict? And if so, what would be its consequences for the US, for Europe, and for Ukraine, of course?
You know, I've been, of course, thinking about that as much as anyone over the last few days. And I just have to say this at the outset of the answer. No one knows because Donald Trump doesn't know. He has not made a decision. I don't say that because I have inside information. I just know that because that's the way Donald Trump works. He hasn't made a decision. He has put all the pieces in place where he can start a major war, but he hasn't made the decision. Having said that, there aren't enough American assets available to fight a prolonged war. So if he does attack Ukraine, it's going to be relatively short. There's nowhere near the forces that were used, for example, in the Iraq War.
If he's going to attack Iran, you said Ukraine, but of course you meant Iran.
Well, yeah, absolutely. If he's going to attack Iran, there's nowhere near enough American forces in play. For example, when we, the United States, moved on Iraq, and I was there were far more troops in place, all kinds of assets, land, sea, and air. He hasn't done that. What would be the outcome if he did attack Iran? There would be a regional conflict. I don't think Iran's going to take this sitting down this time like they did last time. They're going to use their proxies as much as possible. They're going to use whatever resources, military resources they have left, and they have a few. We did not destroy all of their military capabilities last time. It's going to be a mess if, in fact, Trump does follow through to attack Iran.
David DeBatto, political analyst and retired U.S. Army counterintelligence officer, was our guest this evening. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching, and stay with us for more interviews here on TVP World.